Good afternoon. It's Friday, February 3rd. Welcome to Main Street. I'm Evan Newmark. Big day for stocks because big day for jobs. This morning's jobs report reported 57,000 new private sector jobs. That's way more than expected. Plus 14,000 losses get you a net total of 243,000 jobs. Believe it or not, that is probably the best month in a very, very long time. Don't open that champagne. Don't uncork the bottle, according to Rolfe Winkler, the angry young man of the herd on the street team.
I can't get excited about this number.
I want to ask you something. What was it about the jobs number that irritated you almost? You know, we were down there. I'm minding my own business, and you fire this email to me, which is like, you know, this thing's a charade. The jobs number, it's
I'm not saying
nothing
the job
to celebrate.
Number's a lie. I'm not saying the job number's a lie. I'm saying the idea that we would give ourselves credit, that we would give.
Who's giving anybody credit?
We're giving the Obama administration's busy, opening champagne in the White House today because they've got such a great jobs number and the unemployment rate's down, right? But giving them credit for this is like giving Barry Bonds credit for hitting 73 home runs in a season.
Geez.
It's not him; it's the steroids.
Ralph, are you making a political point here? I mean,
I
was on the show.
I'm not saying. Let me back up. I'm not saying that, you know, the downturn, right? I'm not going to give Republicans any time here and say they can claim credit that this isn't great news for Obama. They're the ones that blew a credit bubble in the first
Let's go to your argument before you go into your anti-Obama, anti-White House tirade. Let's look here. This is Ralph's realism. Oh my goodness. So
you guys turned this into a graphic?
He gave you a graphic.
This was my email. You turned it into a graphic.
Well, I didn't do it, but JR did. Ralph's
negative
realism.
Real estate. Now, well, here's what I was trying to say.
Ralph's JR spelled
Barry
threats
Bonds.
wrong. You forgot the R, but other
Barry
than that,
Bonds
it's a very nice.
hit
It's a very
73
nice
home
visual.
runs in a season thanks to
steroids.
Right. So what are the steroids that the economy is on right now? Let's think about this for a second. First of all, housing market, totally backstopped by the government. We've plugged $150 billion into Fannie and Freddie right now. We've got trillion-dollar deficits going on otherwise, right? Yeah. But meanwhile, negative real interest rates.
$15 trillion overall national debt, right?
Okay, and by the way, we've got the amount of debt that's overhanging the economy right now. It's still at a level that it would be a record if not for 2007.
Right. But Rolfe, let's just step back a little bit. Nobody is saying that we don't have all these problems. I don't hear anybody going, you know, the sky's the limit for the stock market. Everything is
the sky's the limit,
all they're doing is pointing out that relative to expectations. Relative to expectations for job creations, the numbers came in better than expected. It's not saying that our $15 trillion worth of debt is going to be wiped out in the next 2 years. It's just simply saying it's better than people expected, and that's enough for stock market investors to jump back in.
But it's also missing we're losing the plot here. When we start talking about the jobs number being better than expected, we start thinking to ourselves, we're doing something correctly. We're doing something right. So the bottom line here is that we're not. We're not actually dealing with the problem that the economy faces.
Okay.
You know,
and what is that problem?
It's debt.
Okay.
Right? We basically, all we did, we congratulate ourselves for getting high after we just took another bong hit. I mean, what?
Okay. Oh, I haven't congratulated anybody for anything, but your point that you're making is basically, if you go into the blogosphere and a lot of the bear market pessimists out there, they would say, you know what, we're just building, it's just more of the house of cards. The federal government is borrowing a lot of money, and so you're building on foundations of sand as opposed to building on foundations of concrete. I mean, that's basically your argument.
I think that's correct. But meanwhile, I think there's a larger chorus that's saying, look, hey, if Obama can keep this up, then he deserves, we should give him credit. He's going to win the election.
Right.
I'm not saying, by the way, I'm not making any sort of statement about Obama versus Romney, Obama versus Gingrich here. I'm just saying it's not fair to look at a couple months of data and give credit to anyone for anything.
I understand that. But let me make a few observations, and we could talk about. The first is that presidents in general get the economic cycle that they're going to get. So Obama came in, he was at the beginning of a very bad recession. We can argue about his policies, whether they've helped or hurt, but the truth of it is it's been a long downturn, and sooner or later the economy left to its own devices would probably recover on its own. Yes or no?
It hasn't been through the downturn it needs to go through.
So you're arguing, in fact, there has to be a greater recession.
Sure. I'm arguing that you actually need to put up with a couple of years. I mean, we've decided that we have to grow. right? GDP has to be on trend growth or whatever you want to call it. And if it's not, there's something wrong with the economy that needs to be, quote unquote, fixed. Right?
Yeah.
And so we juice the economy with QE, we deficit spend, we do all these things because we want to grow at all costs. Because, well, politically, we just have to, right? But what does that do? For the last 30 years, we've basically papered over every recession.
That's true, but
with more credit and more debt. And all we do is we
by the way, you know, I'm not
put ourselves up on a higher cliff.
I'm not a huge fan of
the bottom line is
cheap
what
money.
Obama had a really great opportunity
when
he was elected. Right, the economy was coming off the rails, and I'm not saying you just let it go and you let it fall 10%, and then you dig yourself out from that. We're not Argentina; we can't do that. What you need to do, though, is you need to put in place policies that are actually going to allow for negative growth for a time. Now that's hard, right? Politically, that's very difficult.
But I mean,
the bottom line is you're not going to fix the economy until you actually deal with the problem
Well, you say you're not going to
underneath.
fix the economy. I mean, as far as I could tell, the long-term structural issues of the economy have not been dealt with at all. Those are major
and
entitlement
there's no intent
programs.
to deal with them.
Those are major entitlement
We're going to deal with debt in the medium term. When is the medium term?
Okay, but here I posit one thing to you, which is something that is painfully well known to me, which is in spite of your observations about how over-leveraged the economy is, the U.S. government is still able to borrow money, even today, even after a great jobs report, at under 2% for 10-year money. Not the end of the world, is it?
Oh, we could keep. Hey, Japan's been borrowing at low interest rates for how many years now?
Yeah, well, that's a whole other subject.
They haven't grown for how long?
I got to move on. Rolfe, you made some good points, but I think you are missing the bigger picture, my friend, because the stock market is going up because jobs were better than expected. Rolfe Winkler, Heard on the Street, our angry young man of the Heard on the Street team.